Can NLP help you meet and date the women you desire, especially when it comes to overcoming the fear and anxiety that holds you back? Keep watching. This is Life Mastery Gym. I'm Damon, and I teach people just like you cutting-edge NLP processes and techniques so that you can take charge of your life and master your destiny. So if that sounds good, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, has kind of a reputation for being about seduction and manipulation. But can men use NLP to get more dates, to meet more women, and do it in a way that creates a positive experience for everyone involved? Yes, absolutely you can. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how I went from almost zero social life to having the social life of my dreams. And make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to show you how to take this even further with some free training. The first step I'm going to show you is the approach. But before I get into that, I'm just curious, have you ever used NLP for dating? If yes or no, please type that into the comments below. So the first step might be a bit obvious. It's the approach. At some point, you actually have to make contact with a woman if you're ever going to be able to ask her out on a date. Unfortunate thing though is that this is usually the hardest part for any man, to overcome the fear and the anxiety of walking up to a woman and introducing himself. And so much so that most men would rather sit home on a Friday or Saturday night swiping on Tinder, hoping to get a date that way. Now I've also linked some videos that I've done. I have a complete playlist on overcoming fear in pretty much any situation, and I've linked that playlist to this video, so just click the I if you'd like to check those videos out. What stops you from making the approach is fear, obviously, but what are your fears about? Are they fears of humiliation, rejection, fear that she's going to say no, fear that if she does say no, that means that you're not good enough? And then we have all these limiting beliefs about it. Well, there's no way a woman's going to say yes to me who I just walk up to on the street and ask her out. She's never going to say yes. It's never going to happen. So we have a lot of these fears and these limiting beliefs. But the weird thing about this is that none of these fears are really founded in a physical threat of something bad happening to you. They may feel that way, and that's the interesting thing about this, is that the fear feels the same as the fight or flight response that we get when our life is actually threatened or we're threatened with physical harm. But there is no physical harm there. That's the interesting thing about this step, is that we will experience that kind of fear, yet there is no real threat of that kind of fear. So one of the things we can do is we can experience that fear as excitement, because it's really not that much different. The fear that we experience, or the anxiety we experience, is neurologically very, very similar to excitement. So it really has to do with the meaning we make of the fear, the meaning of that rush of energy that comes through us. Is it anxiety and threat, or is it actually excitement? You can make this shift. There are very specific NLP techniques that can help you out with this. State management NLP techniques such as circle of excellence and anchoring, but you can also use things like new behavior generator and mapping across. And just remember, don't try to use any pickup lines. There are some ways that you can use pickup lines that can be funny and playful. If you can pull that off, then go ahead. If you can make a woman laugh upon first meeting her, then you're off to a really good start. But even some of the pickup lines that are like these indirect openers, like asking a woman's opinion about something and then slowly trying to transition into showing her that you're interested, don't even bother with those. I would first start off with just a compliment, and that tells her that you're interested. And so she's not wondering why you're trying to talk to her or why you're trying to ask her opinion about something out of the blue, which sets you up to make this much longer arc of trying to transition a simple conversation into something more meaningful. Why don't you just start with just giving her a compliment. That'll just tell her right from the start that you're interested in her, and then proceed that way. But oftentimes we're trying to protect our feelings so much, we're trying to protect ourselves from being rejected, that we're trying to not let her know that we're interested in her, which just makes this incredibly difficult. Just start from the beginning, letting her know that you're interested with a very simple compliment. Look at her, see what you find interesting about her, and just tell her that. Once you've made the approach, the next thing you want to do is you want to connect with her. So if you're not at a bar or a club, you're likely going to be approaching her during the day, which I definitely recommend. When you approach in the evening at a bar or a nightclub, you're competing with a lot of other men, and she's also has her guard up because she gets hit on a lot at bars and clubs, because that's, in our weird way of thinking of things, is the appropriate place to meet a woman or to talk to a woman or to approach a woman. But I definitely recommend approaching her during the daytime in public. If you do approach her during the day, it's quite likely she's on her lunch break or she's on her way to, say, meet friends. So you won't have a whole lot of time. You'll want to connect with her as quickly as possible. Sometimes you might only have 5 minutes. Now, that might not always be the case. Maybe she is not on her way to meet anyone and she has plenty of time. But the better you get at connecting quickly and rapidly, the better off you are in any situation. What are some ways to connect with her really, really quickly? In NLP, we have lots of ways to do this. We want to build rapport as quickly as possible. And if you've ever taken any NLP trainings, we talk a lot about rapport. Essential NLP skills to build rapport rapidly are things like matching and mirroring. Also, you can use sensory acuity and calibration to really tune into her deeply so she feels like she's known you for a really long time. Last but not least, you can use reframing to frame the conversation, to have her think about doing fun things with you before you've even asked her out on a date. Overall, the thing that you need to remember is that whether you're doing sales, coaching, therapy, or dating, is that everything happens in rapport. All change happens in rapport. If you want to influence someone's behavior, it needs to happen in the framework of rapport. Two words that are additional words for describing what rapport is trust and familiarity. So when you get someone to experience trust with you and you make that person feel like you're familiar to them, then they're more likely to do what it is that you want them to do. You're more likely to be able to influence their behavior. And like I said, that's with anything. And in coaching, in therapy, in sales, we're influencing behavior. So the same goes with when you're dating. If you want to influence behavior, you need to be in a state of rapport, or that person needs to be in a state of rapport with you. And they need to feel like they can trust you and that you're very familiar to them. Which brings us to the third and final step. But before I go into that, if you would like to attend a free training where I go into much more depth on all three of these steps. In fact, I chunk it down even more. I give even smaller steps to the bigger steps of exactly what to do. For now, I am putting out there a free training that you can attend. You will find the link in the description right down below, or you'll find it in the comments down below. There's a pinned comment, and it's that link where you can get access to this free training. For now, I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep it up, but for now, you can jump on that and take advantage of that. The third and final step is the close. Now, you might be wondering what I mean exactly by that, but if you're in sales, you probably don't. The close is when you go for whatever it is that you want. In sales, it's when you ask for the sale. In dating, I use this word to mean when you ask for the date. Now, I use this word from sales because, let's be honest, when you're approaching and meeting a woman and you ask her out on a date, essentially you are truly selling yourself. It's really not any different than sales. Well, the difference is that you're not exchanging money here, you're exchanging time. So you want to show her that it's worth her time to go out on a date with you, and so you can check each other out and see if indeed you want to go further with this. Now, a lot of people won't like that because it makes it sound like love and fate and all of these wonderful romantic things. it turns it into a sort of a numbers thing, or it turns it into sales. And well, let me put it this way. I'll be the first to admit, I believe in true love. I am a hopeless romantic. And I don't think these two things are mutually exclusive. I think they're one and the same. I think you can be a hopeless romantic. I think you can believe in true love. But you can also understand, too, that if you don't put yourself out there to the right people, to the right woman, you never get to meet that special someone. You often will just settle for whoever's around you. And that a lot of times does not make the best relationships. So if you think like a salesperson, you think like a marketer, you put yourself in front of the right woman, and you also know how to communicate the best in you to her, and you really sell yourself, then you can experience all those wonderful things like true love, and you can be a total hopeless romantic in this whole process. You don't have to treat it like one or the other. It's not an either or thing. When you do ask her out on a date, don't make it a big deal. Don't ask her out for dinner and a movie. That takes a bigger commitment of time. And so again, what you're asking for her for here is her time. So make it really, really easy for her to say yes. An easy way to do that is to ask her out just for something very, very simple like coffee. You ask her out for coffee, it implies that it's very temporary, but if you both want to spend more time together, you get to know each other a little bit and you realize, yeah, I do want to spend more time with this person, then you can move it somewhere else besides coffee. You can then go have dinner. You can go watch that movie. But start off with something really easy for her to say yes. Now, here's the other thing too, is you don't really know if you want to spend a lot of time with her either. You just met her. So you're kind of letting her know that you're not being too pushy, you're not being desperate, you're wanting to get to know her better as well. You're just checking things out here. And again, if it's a mutual decision, you both like each other, then you can move on from here. So a great way to gently and playfully introduce the close. You want to do this playfully because you don't want it to make it seem like this big serious deal. You want to make it easy for her. So a way that you can do that is to say, if there's nothing preventing you from having coffee with me so that we can get to know each other better, I think we should do that immediately. Now again, you want to do this sort of playfully, and with this you have some presuppositions involved in this sentence, which is basically that if there's nothing preventing her, of course there's nothing really preventing her, unless she has a boyfriend or a husband. That might prevent her, or time, but you're making this so that you're not being so specific about the time, you're just saying immediately. So immediately, like immediately now, or immediately like the first chance you get. So this is sort of somewhat left open, but it implies, it presupposes that she can absolutely do this and that she would want to get to know you a little bit better. The other thing, it's not necessarily bad that you get a no from her right away. Getting a no from her would let her know where she stands in this whole thing. So she might be saying, no, I can't do it immediately. And so that's what you would want to say. And she's likely not to just say a flat out no. She might have a boyfriend, she might have a husband. So if she says one of those two, that's, for me, I would just move on. I wouldn't try to really test that. Every once in a while, when I was single, I would test out the whole boyfriend thing, because it might just be a quick knee-jerk reaction. She might just be throwing that out there, and it might not be true. The other thing is that there are plenty of women who will date guys simply because they don't want to be single, and the guy who they're dating isn't necessarily someone they really want to spend a lot of time with. And if given a better choice, she might leave that guy to go and be with you. So if she says no, it's really no problem. Then you say, okay, so you can't do it immediately. What about later this evening, or what about tomorrow? You want to make sure that you get the date as soon as possible from the time that you've actually met her. The longer that time goes on, the more likely she's going to flake or lose interest. So you want to get that date, if you can, immediately. Maybe you can't do it immediately either. So you do it as soon as possible. So if she says no, you say, okay, great, well, what would work for you? So now you've got her to say no to a certain time. That doesn't work. So now you can pivot off of that and then ask her, okay, well, when exactly would this work for you? And then you work it out from there. Like I said, you definitely want to make sure you go on the date as soon as possible. Otherwise, she starts to lose interest, or she starts to forget that initial meeting and the fun conversation that she had. So do it as soon as possible. Now you know the 3 main steps to using NLP to approach, meet, connect, and close. But what you don't know are the finer details that make these 3 steps work. So that's why I created the training that I mentioned earlier in the video. Again, you will find that in the description right down below, and you'll also find it in the pinned comment down below. So again, I don't know how long I'm going to keep this training going, so you want to jump on this as soon as possible. Now that you know these 3 steps, what are you going to do? Let me know in the comments below whether or not you're actually going to put this to use for you. And while you're down there, make sure you get your hands on that free training in the comment section below. Just click the link. If you found this video helpful and you like this video, make sure you click the like button. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button while you're there. Last but not least, if you know of someone who you think would also find this video helpful, make sure you share it with them. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.